Brian Beaulieu. Thank you for joining us for this edition of FedWatch. There's 3 points we're going to go over today. One is probably the most important immediately anyways, and that is the Fed took a pause on rate hikes. The second is they came out with their latest projections for 2024 and 2025, and they have a story to tell. And third is their commentary on the banking system. So first, it's paused. They haven't said that they're done raising interest rates or that they're going to start lowering interest rates. Chairman Powell is very explicit in saying that that decision had not been made. But I'm just glad that they took a break and given more data time to come in. Personally, I'm skeptical that they are done. Ideally, relative to our forecast, that would be amazing if they were, because from our vantage, the mid-year is when they should stop doing this. But now we get into the second point, which is their forecast. They have GDP adjusted for inflation still growing in 2024. And they call it their tendency. It means that the majority of the forecasts that they're looking at that they developed are growth between 0.9 and 1.5% in 2024. Folks, I got to tell you that worries me. If they assume that the economy is going to continue to grow, then that may tempt them to push interest rates up a little bit more. And as you know, we're not looking at that. In fact, the team was just talking about how, when we do this frequently, are we still confident it's going to be a mild downturn, not a more severe downturn? We can see this thing turning negative a whole lot more than we could see it disappearing and turning into some rise in 2024. So I think that's a danger point. They have the economy growing in 2025 at a slightly faster pace, as do we. But what we don't really know in here is, how much of this they are taking into consideration. They see core inflation as measured by the personal consumption expenditures in 2024 coming down to 2.5 to 3.1. That technically doesn't meet their criteria, although they're signaling that it may be good enough. And that's important because part of their projections are that they see the Fed funds rate coming down between 100 and 150 basis points in 2024. And I got to tell you, that's probably not enough to get us into a normal yield curve, but at least it's the needle moving in the right direction without their official PCE core inflation forecast satisfying their oft-stated criteria. And that probably is going to be what happens because they're saying that core inflation is going to drop to 2.0 to 2.4% in 2025. So if they believe that we're in this elongated reduction of core inflation, then they'll probably will lower those Fed funds rate. And their long-range forecast is in 2025, they're going to drop them another 100 to 150 basis points. What's phenomenal about all this, and I don't want to leave it alone, is that the stock market mania of 2023 so far seems to be all over the map when it comes to these interest rates, expecting the Fed is going to lower or won't lower. It flows every which way from Sunday, and I think it's more rhetoric than actually tied into probabilities, because if they listen to the Fed, then it's too soon for the stock market to get euphoric when we're not even sure we're done raising the rates and we still have an inverse yield curve to contend with. The third thing I want to mention, and I apologize for going a little long here, is that they made their usual statement about the banking system as sound and resilient, to which we say, come back and talk to us in another 2 quarters as more and more office buildings and malls, but primarily office buildings, go unsold and are pushed back onto the books of the small, even decent-sized regional banks. That's going to be painful. So they can make all sorts of sound and resilient, but I'm questioning the resilient part of that right now. It's a significant concern that we can't just brush aside with one statement. So that's what's new. They've got a pause. Hooray. A little concerned that they don't see more damage that they've done to the economy in 2024, but also encouraged that they are planning on lowering the Fed funds rate in 2024. maybe they can lower it quickly since we're already, or more steeply since we're already leaning in that direction. And I'm not nearly as sanguine as they are about the banking system, but they're the experts. Thanks for listening to this edition of Fed Watch, and we look forward to seeing you next time.